Hello everybody, Disciple here with Overwatch Curios. Season 3 has just ended, and whether or not you're a hardcore competitive player, chances are you play ranked if you're watching this video. Whether or not you got the rank you wanted last season, we can all always do a bit better, and although personal skill will definitely take you a long way, there are a lot of other choices you make that affect how well you do in competitive. Today let's talk about the heroes you play and how they affect how well you climb. Although you might prefer a particular hero, they may not be the best in a solo carry setting, or they may not work great past a certain skill level. Now, people can climb on pretty much any hero, but I'm just going to highlight the absolute best heroes you can use to carry yourself in ranked. To make sure I made the best list possible, I worked together with my friend Roadhog, who's attained Grandmaster and Top 500 multiple times on several accounts and is the coach for Fnatic's Overwatch team, and you can find his own write-up for this list at nerfthis.pro. Anyway, let's get started. At number 10 we've got Widowmaker. A slightly unconventional pick and somebody who hasn't seen too much meta play recently, Widow is still insanely strong as a character to carry yourself on if you're any good with her at all. She's definitely one of the most frustrating heroes to play against in the game, and when you know what you're doing, you can very easily solo kill several members of the enemy team before each fight, constantly pushing games in your favor. If you faced off against a god tier Widow, you know how difficult it can be to leave the safety of your own spawn, and I still have PTSD from the old Widow in beta that can be damage boosted by a Mercy by 50% and one-shot you without a headshot. Widowmaker completely demolishes uncoordinated teams, and if you're solo queuing, then you're much more likely to be playing against solo players as well. Even if you're up against a full stack or a team trying to use voice comms, coordinating to take out a powerful Widow is pretty tough at lower levels. And if you do manage to force the enemy team to swap to counter you, you've accomplished a pretty huge task in and of itself. She's been seeing more and more competitive play recently because she's a high priority target when in-game, and having that sort of power over the enemy team is massive. If aiming isn't your thing though, you might want to give Reinhardt a try. Now I know that Rein is one of the strongest characters in the game, and you might be surprised that he's actually not higher on the list, but we tried to rank these heroes based off of their carry potential alone. Most teams feel like they need a Reinhardt on them, and chances are that you've been asked to swap to it once or twice, but why should you? Well, being the better Reinhardt can actually give your team an enormous advantage, more than any individual DPS character might be able to. The best counter to Reinhardt's Earthshatter is another Reinhardt, and if you can't shield against his stun, then your team are likely going to be sitting ducks for his ultimate. Providing relief for your team is also going to be a huge advantage, and while it may not feel super cool or heroic to stand there holding a shield, once you learn when you can afford to charge in and swing your hammer, then you'll definitely have your chance to make hero plays. Keep track of powerful cooldowns from the enemy team, and if Roadhog's hook or Ana's sleep dart are down, then you might be able to go aggressive yourself. Playing Reinhardt also gives you a great opportunity to take command of your team and try and strategize an attack, since most players with half a brain will try and stick behind their Reinhardt somewhat. Not only is he a powerful hero, but his ability to wipe a team with a solid ult or solo kill a flanker with a precise charge makes him incredibly fun to play and a great hero to carry on altogether. Up next we've got the Rocket Queen. Pharah brings with her a huge amount of damage and a particularly interesting skill set that, like Widowmaker, forces your opponents to deal with her. If the enemy team doesn't have a great hero to pick her off, you can fly around pretty much endlessly, and your ability to surprise enemies or make yourself difficult to target can be huge in making solo carry plays. Although it's probably likely that the other team might have a Soldier 76, there's a chance that if they swap to it, then it's not a very comfortable pick for them. Again, forcing your enemies to swap heroes disrupts their composition and can upset the balance they've created. Even if they have a soldier, it doesn't mean Pharah's dead in the air. You just have to play a lot more carefully and be smarter overall about your positioning and movement. Pharah is a fairly easy character to pick up as well, making her particularly good if you want a new character to carry on. Her aiming is a bit more forgiving than other offense characters unless you're in an aerial battle, and you can actually get a surprising number of kills with her knockback too. I'd recommend picking Pharah on a map where you can reliably land environmental kills, or when you can combo with another hero on your team like Zarya. If the enemy team has a god, widow, or soldier, things might get a little bit too tough for you, but that's why we're giving you 10 different heroes to play. Master a few of them and you'll be absolutely fine. Up next is Ana, another hero that you might be surprised isn't higher up on the list. Although she's an insanely strong support, rivaled only by Lucio at the professional level, carrying yourself as a support player can be a bit tough if you're solo queuing. As such, I'd recommend picking up Ana, since her flexibility in dealing damage while healing and providing insane utility means a well-played Ana can certainly carry a team. Your toolkit abuses every mistakes that a team can make, whether you're sleep darting out of position targets or baiting out enemies with your massive healing. She's best when you can duo queue with a strong tank or offense to use your boost on, but most solo queue players can utilize it enough to grab a few kills. Your anti-healing is insane in its ability to counter Zenyatta, other Anas, and heroes like Roadhog and Soldier, and you can even reliably take out Pharah's or Reinhardt shields if nothing else requires your attention. Although she's tough to play, Ana is definitely the #1 solo queue support to learn. At number 6, it's my favorite hero of all time, Zarya. Even though most people at this point know not to focus the shield, it's still really hard to play around, especially when your enemies are laying down crossfire. Your shields are so insanely powerful on Zarya, both as an ultimate enabler for characters like Reaper or Pharah, or as a save when your teammates get caught out by Roadhog or Reinhardt. Let's face it, when you're solo queuing, a lot of your teammates are going to get hooked or pinned. Instead of raging at them in voice chat, just save their asses, get bonus damage when you do, and then wipe the enemy team yourself since you're playing Zarya. Learning to manage and prioritize her shields can be tough, and you'll likely waste some charge every now and then, but overall Zarya has some of the highest sustained damage potential in the game since you're so durable in fights, and you can keep DPSing long after your squishier allies have died or ran away. Zarya ult is also a huge enabler, one of the biggest in the game aside from Ana ult, and even if you can't coordinate it well with your team, you can still do massive damage yourself when used at the right time. Next up, it's McCree, an offense hero who's recently gained some favor now that the tank meta has dissipated a bit. He deals really well with problematic solo queue heroes like Genji, Tracer, and Pharah. He has great damage at all ranges, and his stun and spray combo is incredibly strong at taking down tanks and squishies alike. Now, McCree is a lot more aim dependent than most other characters in game, so I definitely recommend some headshot practice versus Ana bots, but once you can get your 2 taps down, then you should be able to easily carry yourself to Diamond and beyond on McCree. He's a bit lower on the list than some other offense, mostly due to his skill cap, but his solo carry potential is huge and he's definitely in a solid spot right now in the meta. Now, for all you weebs out there, Genji is definitely a solid choice for any of you who have what it takes to master him. He's probably the most consistently one-tricked character in the game, and that's for a reason. He can consistently one-shot other offense and support characters, triggering both his resets and the enemy team. He's pretty insanely hard to kill as well, since your unpredictable movement and fast dashing makes you an incredibly difficult target even if your health pool is standard. His shurikens can be tricky to use, but overall they're a bit easier to aim than if you were playing Widowmaker or McCree, and his ult is one of the strongest in the game when it comes to soloing enemy teams. If you've got a duo partner who can play Zarya or Ana, then you've got a built-in enabler, and even if that's not the case, you can create your own opportunities in the flanks while your team pushes or defends as a unit. He's got a very high skill cap, but if you're really seeking to carry yourself, then it's a good idea to limit your hero pool to a couple solid heroes from this list and focus on overall mastery. Genji's carry potential is so strong that most Korean pro teams have a dedicated Genji sub, who they use when Genji is either strong in the meta or when they're playing against a team who can't defend well against aggression. Plus, you look pretty cool when you're carving everyone up in fights, and that's nice. This list wouldn't be complete without Soldier 76, who has absolutely insane DPS at range with the right positioning. You'll likely always have gold damage if you're playing properly, and you can do everything well from breaking Reinhardt shields, sniping Pharahs out of the air, and cleaning up teamfights with your ult. The best part of Soldier is that he's always a safe pick and works in any team comp, meaning you can pretty much always play him as long as you grab him first. He's also not a very tricky mechanical hero, so you can focus pretty much entirely on aim and positioning. Positioning is extremely important on Soldier, and once you learn the optimal high ground spots on each map, you'll be really hard to deal with for the enemy team. He might not be able to solo carry as hard as number 2 and number 1 on the list, but he's always going to be a good pick until he gets nerfed hard. Number 2 might be the most surprising pick on the list, since Tracer hasn't been quite as possible as she might have been a year ago. However, like Widowmaker, Tracer is just so incredibly strong against uncoordinated teams, and even if the enemy team has some coordination, you can usually find room to create chaos. Tracer is incredibly difficult in terms of mechanics and aim combined, but when you get a mastery of the two, then you can make people rage harder than an ulting monkey. You're probably the best support assassin in the game, and you can build ult incredibly quickly. Your DPS is high when you learn how to hit heads, and if you can combine your ult with a Reinhardt or a Zarya, then you can grab some sweet multi-kill plays of the game as well. Now, I wouldn't recommend Tracer if you suck at aiming or if you struggle with vertigo like Lucille 2, but if you're up for a challenge, then Tracer can easily take you to Grandmaster. Our number one pick is pretty predictable, and he's got to be a character most in need of a nerf, but Roadhog is just too good to ignore here. For a tank with a ridiculous health pool, his damage is insanely high at close and mid ranges. The only hero better at busting tanks and shields is probably Bastion really, and you can assassinate better than Widow sometimes if you land a good hook. You might have realized that while the Hook 2.0 changes did get rid of some of the frustrating through the wall hooks, he can kill you so much more consistently after he's landed it. This means a good Roadhog can carry insanely well once he's mastered something as simple as landing a hook, which is far easier than mastering Genji combos or Tracer's movement through fights. He's the most played character on the top 500 list, and Evermore got to 5,000 skill rating playing Roadhog for a reason. Now he might get nerfed soon, and after that it could be a totally different case, but until then I'd recommend picking up Roadhog as soon as possible to make your climb easy and smooth. So overall, these are the 10 best heroes to carry yourself with in Ranked. I'm curious though, who do you use to carry your games? If I left your character out of the list, let me know why I'm a total bronze idiot in the comments below, like I'm sure you will. Anyway, that's it for me today. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.